Hi, folks, here at Champion Sports Radio. We are really excited about the upcoming baseball season. We've got a lot of talented teams on tap. So we want to sit down with each of the four play-by-play voices of the four teams we broadcast for and get you ready and prepared for what should be an exciting 2023 baseball broadcast season on Champion Sports Radio. Let's now welcome in Tom Doerr, the play-by-play voice of the Coppell Cowboys. This is a team that has been on fire the last couple of years, deep playoff runs all the way to the regional semifinals last year. But new man in charge, new coaching change, some familiar names, though, as I know, Pompey and Schultz and Darkoch and some of those old names are back still for the Cowboys. But what is the mood like for Coppell a couple weeks into these non-district tournaments? And what is the overarching, expectation level fans have for the Cowboys here in 2023?
Thomas, I think the expectation level has been set by the past two seasons, and I think a couple of them were surprises. Let's start with the 2021 season, where they first really had an opportunity to play under Ryan Howard and made that first deep run into the postseason. Not a lot of people expected them to be there, and they did some damage. They went up against some tough teams, and then finally were eliminated by Keller. And then carry that into last year. And there were still some unknowns getting into last year. They had lost some returning starters. They were still trying to set the tone culture-wise in the clubhouse. And in 2022, it almost was the exact replica of 2021. And they were able to make it as far as they did into the postseason, as far as they did in 2021. So then the offseason center, Ryan Howard, leaves. They promote first base coach Armando Garza into Ryan's role as head coach. This will be his first time leading the Cowboys. There is familiarity with the clubhouse and Armando Garza's style of play. I think there's going to be a lot of carryover from what we saw in the past 2.5 years. I say half years because they did play a non-district schedule under Ryan Howard in 2020. But in 2022, we saw a lot of that culture finally really ingrained into the younger talent, into the JV squad, into the freshman ball squad. And so I think we're going to see a lot of the same style of play, the small ball being emphasized. Ryan Howard was a big small ball guy, and that kept the Cowboys in a lot of games last year, especially in the postseason. I think you're going to see a lot of that under Armando Garza. Honestly, I don't expect a lot of that to change here. I think what will be very interesting to see is, can they get the same kind of starting pitching as they got the last two seasons? I don't know that you're going to see a lot of TJ Pompey on the mound this year. He's committed to Texas Tech and has been for a number of years. He's been committed there as a shortstop. I think you're going to see him play most of the time at shortstop. Does that mean he's not going to make a spot start? I don't think so, but we haven't seen that in the pre-district schedule. You have some solid returning depth with Pompey and with Tanner Seaver. Both of them really produced today in their, I say this morning because it was a morning game out here on the West Coast as we were watching, but they took it to Salina this morning. Both Pompey and Seaver had an impact in that game. Certainly Andrew Schultz, who's going to be heading to Grayson to play ball next year, he's going to have an impact from his first base spot. And then you got some new names with some familiarity with the program. Liam Krause, you remember Chayton Krause, his older brother played there. Liam is now coming up and doing some damage in this non-district schedule. I think it's going to be very interesting to see if they can get the same kind of pitching production and timely hitting that kept him in a lot of ball games last year. And I will point you back to staying in the game against Marcus, that 12-inning affair on a Friday night that we had the pleasure of bringing to everybody. That was an exciting game, and I think really that propelled this Coppell team last year to where they were able to finally get.
I know last year it was, let's just get through 4 or 5 innings, and then we're going to bring in the hammer and close it out. Mm-hmm. Obviously, maybe that strategy is going to work again, but they're going to have to fill that role, I would imagine.
They are, and I think you're going to have to find out who those guys are. They had Will Boylan. They knew what he was able to do going into last season, but I don't think anybody had on their dance card that he was going to be as effective as he was as kind of the firefighter role coming out of the bullpen. So this year it's going to be, we got to see who that's going to be. Certainly, you're going to want the quality starts, whether it's Brian Rates or whoever else is going to get the ball on Tuesdays or Friday nights. My guess would be Rates is going to start on Fridays, but I don't know that for sure. And so you're going to want that starting pitching to be as effective as possible. And you're going to want to get on top of teams early. I think there were some games last year that there was a wait and feel them out approach in the first couple of innings that they were finally able to crack through in the middle innings and put up those runs, which I think got back to them when they played Southlake in the postseason UIL tournament. They weren't able to get on the starting pitching and they kind of ran out of gas, and that approach didn't really work. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the bullpen develops over time. But certainly to me, it rests on the new starting pitching arms that they're going to rely on for 2023.
And my goodness, things couldn't get any harder. You have Hebron, Marcus, and Flower Mound all ranked in the top 10 in the region. Coppell's picked to finish fourth, but nobody ever really expected a whole lot of them the last couple of years, and look what they were able to do. So it's probably a position that Coach Garza is really happy he's in. Hey, let's not heap the expectations on. Yeah. Let's try to surprise some people along the way.
And you've been around the game and high school, especially athletics, is a long time as well as I have, and asking coaches, what do you make of these preseason standings? I've never heard any one of them, answer that they truly care about it. When you look at the district, I think it's a lot sharper of a district than it has been in years past. So I think the avenue to the top, some of those off ramps are closed. This year, you're not going to be able to run roughshod over the Plano schools like you were in the past. You're not going to be able to count on specific wins just based on the calendar. You're going to have to make sure that you take care of business when you can take care of business, and that's winning some of those must-win games. You're not going to be able, you listed off a number of teams. I would lump Plano in there as having a fantastic start to their pre-district schedule, 7-0-1 in their first 8 games. They're starting to play good ball again, too. Everything changes when you get to the district schedule, as you know, but I think I don't think a fourth place finish is any kind of mark on what the predictions or what this Coppell team or their fans think that they could do this season.
I just know it's going to be a whole lot of fun. We're going to have some fantastic baseball week in and week out. And
you start with Hebron. You start with a series against Hebron and then Marcus right after that. So those are 4 really important games that I think if you can leave that 2-2, maybe even 3-1 if you can get there, then you are doing really well. So long as you don't go 0-4. And so long as you don't go 1-3. And if you do, you got to make some adjustments and you got to learn from those games.
But there's even no harm in going 1-3 because those are really good teams you're going to be going up against. And we saw from Hebron last year coming back from almost the dead to get into the playoffs and gave Prosper all they could handle and more. So what we do know is this: whoever comes out of this district for the postseason is going to be battle tested for sure. Mr. Doerr, I appreciate the time on assignment out in sunny Southern California. We'll look forward to welcoming you back next week as we kick off district season.
I need more of these assignments. There's only one thing that can get me off the beach, and that's coming back for Coppell baseball this season. So look forward to all of you then.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.